Have you ever felt just a little bit overwhelmed by modern technology? You know, that feeling that for every amazing new breakthrough, there's this strange new anxiety that comes right along with it? Well, if you have, you're not alone. You're tapping into a core feeling of our time.
Right? You hear about AI, and you think, is this going to make my life amazing, or is it going to take my job?
And we wonder who's really in control of the mountains of data that make up our digital selves.
And here's maybe the biggest question of them all. Why does every single step forward feel like we're also stumbling into some new, invisible kind of danger?
Well, what if I told you that this feeling of constant uncertainty isn't just you, that it's actually a defining feature of the world we live in now? In fact, two brilliant sociologists gave us a way to understand it all, and they saw this coming decades ago, way before things got this wild.
So let's get into it. We're talking about Ulrich Beck and Anthony Giddens. Writing back in the late 20th century, they were living through this time of massive change. And you can think of them as lens makers. They didn't have a crystal ball, but they built these powerful new lenses to help us see our world and all its anxieties with way more clarity.
Okay, so their first big idea is a bit of a mouthful. It's called reflexive modernity. I know, it sounds super academic, but stick with me, because the concept itself is actually pretty simple. And I promise, once you get it, you're going to start seeing it everywhere.
So, in a nutshell, reflexive modernity is that moment when a society's progress gets so advanced that it has to start dealing with its own mess. It's like modernity is looking in the mirror for the first time and going, whoa, where did all that come from? It's all about confronting the unexpected consequences of our own success.
And this slide just lays it out so perfectly. Back in what we'll call classical modernity, the big problem was simple: not enough. The question was, how do we grow enough food to feed everyone? But now, in our reflexive modernity, we've pretty much solved that. The problem is totally flipped. Now we're asking, okay, but is this food even safe to eat? We're worried about the pesticides, the GMOs, the pollution, all the side effects from the very science that solved the first problem. See that shift?
And that idea leads us straight into Beck's most famous concept, and it's a big one: the risk society. This is the world that grows out of reflexive modernity. It's the world we're living in now, a world defined by a totally new kind of danger.
Think about it. For pretty much all of human history, the biggest dangers were external. Things coming from nature, right? Famine, floods, plagues. But today, in the risk society, the main threats are what Beck called manufactured risks. These are the dangers we've made ourselves through our own progress. We're talking climate change, nuclear waste, or massive data breaches. We built this stuff.
And what's wild about these manufactured risks is how different they are. First off, a lot of them are invisible. You can't see a cyber threat or a hole in the ozone layer. Second, they don't care about borders. Pollution from one country can affect the entire planet, and this last part is absolutely crucial. The job of navigating these huge, global, invisible forces gets pushed down onto us as individuals, and that is a heavy psychological weight to carry.
Okay, so that's the theory, but how does this connect to what's happening right now? Let's take this new lens and apply it to probably the biggest technological shift of our lifetime: artificial intelligence.
I mean, AI is the textbook example of a manufactured risk. This isn't a hurricane or an earthquake. It's a technology we are actively building. And just as Beck and Giddens would have predicted, its breakneck development is creating a whole new universe of risks and uncertainties that, honestly, we're just beginning to wrap our heads around.
And we're already seeing the data to back this up. It's creating new kinds of inequality on a global scale. Take a look at this IMF study. It projects that AI is going to impact a whopping 60% of jobs in advanced economies, but in low-income countries, only 26%. That is not a small gap. That's a fundamental shift that could seriously deepen global divides.
This creates what Beck called a new power dynamic. The great global competition is no longer just about who has the most factories or oil. It's shifting to a competition over who controls information capital, the massive data sets, and the powerful AI systems that can make sense of it all.
Now, let's bring this down from the global stage to something we probably all used just a few minutes ago: social media. This is a manufactured risk we live with every single day. Social media is the classic trade-off, isn't it? It gives us these incredible advantages like connection and information sharing. But every single one of those benefits is paired with a manufactured risk on the other side of the coin: addiction, security vulnerabilities, and a tidal wave of misinformation. We constantly make this deal. We accept the risk to get the reward. And this quote from Mark Zuckerberg, it just perfectly captures the whole mindset of the risk society. The drive to innovate, to push forward, is so powerful that not creating these new technologies is seen as the biggest failure of all. This philosophy is what builds our modern world and also what populates it with new dangers.
If you want a perfect real-world case study, look no further than the Cambridge Analytica scandal. It started with something so harmless, taking a fun personality quiz. But that little app didn't just grab your data, it also hoovered up the data from your entire friends list. The result? A massive, invisible data breach affecting 87 million people, all for political profiling.
And this brings us right back to that key idea, the individualization of risk. After a massive scandal like that, who is responsible for protecting your data? Well, increasingly, the answer is you. We are the ones left to read the 50-page terms of service, to decide whether to accept WhatsApp's new privacy policy, and to manage this ridiculously complex digital footprint. It's a constant, low-level cognitive load that really adds to that feeling of being overwhelmed.
All right, so where does all of this leave us? What's the takeaway from looking at our world through the lens of a risk society?
Look, these theories don't offer a simple roadmap or a quick fix. That's not the point. What they give us is a crucial understanding of our reality. They show us that the fundamental challenge of our time has shifted. For most of human history, it was a simple battle against nature for survival. But that's not the main story anymore. We are now in a much more complex struggle to manage the often invisible, unpredictable consequences of our own incredible technological success.
It's a really profound shift in the human condition, and it leaves us with one final, very personal question. In a world that is now defined by the risks we ourselves create, what are you helping to build?